You ready? Alright guys, we are back in my garage for another video, and today I'm going to be showing you how to update the firmware on your Motiv Reflex. This is really important because a lot of the tuning companies that support our cars have been releasing updates that improve the integration with the Motiv Reflex. So if you want to take advantage of all the latest features and safeties, it's really important that you update the firmware in order for it all to work together. So I just got done retuning my car, making sure that everything will work flawlessly with the flex fuel and everything like that. And so now I can continue driving my car with the most confidence. So it's really important to be able to do this, especially if you want to take advantage of all the newest features. So I'll show you guys how I updated the firmware on my car, and hopefully you guys find this video useful. Now, as always, for everybody that's new to the channel, I create these videos to help keep you updated on the latest developments in our community, as well as discuss technical topics so that we have a better understanding of how our engines work. So if you're interested in more videos like that, be sure to subscribe because there will be a lot more coming out in the future. Now keep in mind, if you bought your Motiv Reflex brand new, it should already have the latest firmware installed. So this probably isn't something that you need to do, but it is still a good practice if you want to make sure that you have the latest on there. Or if you've had it for a while, maybe you bought it used or something like that, then you can also update the firmware before you flash any tuning files. And that way, you have a fresh, clean baseline. So I think either way, it's a good practice, and I'll show you guys how I did it on my car. The other thing is make sure you go to Motiv's website. They have a Dropbox set up with all of their Motiv Reflex files, and you can scroll through there and see all the installation manuals and user guides and things like that. And it's really important to read through that before you touch anything. It has a lot of really good information. You can use my videos kind of to illustrate what the guides are talking about, but I definitely recommend reviewing those first, because if they make any updates or change anything, they usually put it in the Dropbox file and update it there first. So make sure you check that out, download all the files you need, and then review this video if you need additional support. So the first thing we're going to do is download the firmware files we need. And so go to the firmware folder on their Dropbox, and the first thing we're going to download is the Motiv firmware bootloader.zip file. And this is a zip file that when you extract it, it has all the installation files and everything that you would need to make the bootloader work. And that's the tool that you're going to use to flash the firmware onto the Motiv Reflex. The next thing that you need to do is make sure you download the latest hex file. And so the correct hex file for your car is going to be dependent on the serial number. You can find the serial number on the silver sticker on the back of your Motiv Reflex. So if you flip it over, you'll see what the sticker looks like. On my 440i, I bought it in 2022, and you can see the number is 1105. And then on my 340i, I bought it last year, and you can see the number is 3201. So they sell a lot of these. The serial number basically just keeps going up for every one they sell. But the main difference that they try to break it down between is if it's below 500, but between 501 and 5,000, and then above 5,000. So you're basically going to go to all of the hex files and download the one where your serial number falls within that range. So this is the one that I downloaded, since both of mine are between 501 and 5,000. This is the one that I'm going to use for both of my Motiv Reflex units. And then the last thing I recommend is downloading the README file, which, as it is titled, it's recommended to read it first. It has a nice changelog which tells you what was updated with the different versions, so it's just good information if you want to know what the latest capabilities are with the newest firmware revision. But it also explains and reiterates that you want to make sure the new firmware revision matches your tune version. So I highly recommend talking to your tuner, letting them know that you're updating the firmware, and making sure that the files they send you will work with it, or if they need to patch it or update it, they can send you the correct file. So it's very critical that both of them work together. Now after that, you're going to go ahead and open that bootloader.zip drive onto your desktop or somewhere on your computer, and go ahead and open the Motiv firmware bootloader.exe. Again, this is the software that you're going to use to flash the firmware, so just go ahead and open it up. And once you do that, you're going to connect your Motiv Reflex to your computer using a USB cable. Keep in mind this has to be a cable that has data capability. Some USB cables are just for charging, so they transmit power, but not data. And if that's the case, it will not work. So if it's not working initially, consider getting a new cable from, a local store. Any cable that's usually made for cell phones will work because those transmit data as well. Now, after it's connected, go ahead and turn on your car. Just power it on in accessory mode. You don't actually need to turn on your engine, and that will give power to the Motiv Reflex. It needs about 2 seconds to detect if the USB cable is connected, and if nothing's there, it will revert to its regular run mode. So it shouldn't take more than 2 seconds for it to be detected, and that will tell you that everything is working. If you look in the window, it will say that it's connected at the bottom of the screen, and you'll also see the message in the middle that it's working on the connection. So if you don't see that, you either didn't connect the USB cable before powering on the Motiv Reflex, or potentially your cable is bad. So make sure that all of that is working properly. Then you're going to click on the import firmware image option and select the hex file that you downloaded for your Reflex. So again, just make sure you have the correct version based on your serial number. And then once you have that open, we're going to click on erase/program/verify device in order to program the Reflex. And then you're going to see it start working. You'll see the green bar start moving to show that it's working. And then once the progress is complete, it will confirm and say that it was updated successfully. So that way you know the firmware has been updated. Once that is done, you can disconnect the USB cable, and it's really important that you power cycle your Reflex. So go ahead and turn it off. I like to open the door and let everything kind of shut down and sleep for a little bit, and then go ahead and turn it back on. And at that point, the Motiv Reflex is completely updated, but you still need to reflash your map. So especially for anybody like me that has an existing unit that's already been tuned and you're updating the tune or updating the firmware, you need to reflash your map. Now, the first issue that I ran into was actually with Tuner Pro itself. So once you open up Tuner Pro, you're going to download the latest ADX and XDF files. For me, it was version 6.2x for both, since I have a serial number that's greater than 501. And when I went to flash it in Tuner Pro, it actually gave me an error for the XDF. The ADX file flashed fine, or at least opened up fine, but it said that the XDF was created with a newer version. And so because of that, I had to basically go to Tuner Pro's website. I saw that they updated the software in April of this year, so I had to re-download it, reinstall it, and then the XDF would open fine. So if you run into that issue, just double check that you have the latest Tuner Pro, because the newest software versions might only work with that newer version of Tuner Pro. And then after you've done that, upload the bin that came from your tuner, and you should be able to flash your Motiv Reflex and get everything set up. And then after that, you should be good to go. Just kind of follow your tuner's instructions. If they tell you to log idle first, or, partial throttle pulls and things like that, take your time to make sure that the tune and everything is responding as you expect. And then once you go through a couple revisions, you should be able to get it dialed in, and all of the safeties and everything should be working much better with the new features that have been released. So yeah, hopefully this helps you out. It actually was pretty easy. I think it feels a lot more intimidating than it actually is. And once you've done it once, you realize it's not so bad once you have the correct files and know kind of what to expect when you're flashing your Motiv Reflex. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to help get rid of all the fear and stuff around it, people thinking that the software is buggy and difficult to use. At the end of the day, it's actually pretty easy if you know what to expect. But I think that's it for this video. So thank you guys for watching, and I hope this helps. And if you have any other questions or comments, leave them down below.